Hi there. I was recently introduced to a product by a company called Osmo. Now you may well have heard of them yourself. Osmo's been around since 1878. They're from Germany and they make wood finishes. Now primarily they make them for finishing wood flooring, but you can use them on any kind of wood of course, and so I decided to try them on a small bowl. This thing's 4 inches in diameter, 2 inches high, and I made it just to do this experiment. Now it's my first effort. It didn't come out exactly the way I wanted it to, but I'm still learning how to use it. So there are some things I would change. It's a wax finish, so it doesn't penetrate the way a water-based finish might. It just pretty much lays on the surface. And it's translucent, so you don't lose the beauty of the grain. The more coats you put on, the deeper the color will become. I like it so far. I've got a little bit of learning to do. At the demo I saw, they gave me some of these sachets of different colors to try out. I've got red, green, and a clear satin still here. I used yellow and blue on this one. So let me show you how I made this, and then I'll come back after it's all done, and I'll explain a couple of things I might do differently. I've got a piece of a maple branch here that I want to make into a small bowl. Now, first thing I did was I took this center finder. Got this from Lee Valley. It's got a hole in the center, and then there are lines drawn all the way around with different diameters. So you can take the diameter, this for instance is 4 inch across. So I can find the 4 inch marks, put them on the two sides, and it gives me a good idea of where the center is. And then it's 5 inches long, so I use the 5 inch marks there, and now I find the exact center. I marked that with a scratch awl. Then I took it over to the lathe. I put the spur drive into here and the live center on here. And then I just kept turning it, moving the live center until I found the place where it seems to be spinning the truest. Now, usually I put a disc of whatever size I want, in this case 4 inches, screw it on here, take it over to the bandsaw, and cut the circle around the outside of that disc. I'm not going to do this one that way for the simple reason I'm too lazy to change the blade on the bandsaw. It's a 3/4 inch blade that I've used recently, and I'm going to leave it there for something I have going in the future. So what I want to do with this is put it in this vise, hold it there. I can take a scratch awl, put it in the hole on the center, put that in the mark I found to be the center, and using a pencil on the 4 inch line, there are holes around this, so you can do this. I can make marks on both ends, and then it will tell me where that is. Now, the marks don't go all the way around, but it's just to give me a guide. This way I'll be able to put it on the bandsaw and knock off the corners sufficiently, put it back on the lathe, and get to work on it. So I'm going to knock those corners off, and then why don't you join me over at the lathe. Something I forgot to mention. These come in two sizes. This one does up to an 8 inch diameter circle. This one will do up to 16 inches. So for most of the work I ever want to do with them, these work just fine. And they're at Lee Valley. I'm sure they're at other places too. That's just where I got mine. First thing I want to do is start shaping the bowl. Now the bottom of the bowl is going to be at the tailstock end, top of the bowl toward the headstock. I'm going to be cutting a lot of air when I start here, although I've rounded a bit. There's a lot of air going to be down here. So I want to shape the bowl a bit, put a tenon on here to reverse chuck it. I might just want to go with a recess and do expansion. I'll see how large this is when I get done. It's not that big to start with. So I'm turning at 1000 RPM and using my 3/8 inch bowl gouge. Raising the speed to 2000. with my go, no-go block. I'm checking the size of the tenon. It's a little large there and a little small there, so I'm just going to bring this down close to it, and I'm going to trim some of this off so it'll fit in the chuck. Alright, I'm just going to do some sanding on the outside here, and then I'm going to reverse it to work on the inside. I won't bother you with the sanding. I'll be back after that's finished. Now I'm afraid the live center's in the way just a little bit, but it's only there temporarily. I just want to make sure this isn't going to fly out of here. I'm only using about an 1/8 inch tenon, so it's not holding by much. It should be enough unless the wood's a little soft. But I'm going to be turning this at 2000 RPM using my 3/8 inch bowl gouge. And as soon as I'm sure this is good, I'm going to pull the tailstock out of the way. Now let me see if I can put a little more light inside there. That might help. I like to check frequently with my shop-made depth gauge just to see where I am. Got a ways to go yet. And I think that's not looking too bad. The whole purpose here is to try coloring this. So I'm going to just straighten this up a little bit more. I'm going to sand this for the most part. I'll be back after I'm finished sanding. Alright, first thing I've done, I want to make sure I'm wearing rubber gloves. These are the colors I'm going to use, yellow and blue. Now if I remember correctly, yellow and blue will mix to make a green. This is what Osmo calls their super pad. I believe it's just like a Scotch-Brite pad. And I'm going to cut a couple of narrow strips off of here to use to apply this. I'll cut this one strip, I'll cut it in half. Use 1/2 of it for the yellow and 1 for the blue. Now let's see if I can open this without getting it all over everything. Drop cloth over top of the bedways, of course. I'm just going to squeeze a little bit of this yellow out of here onto this pad. Might be a little easier laying it down somewhere. Oop. Do not want to get it all over everywhere. Got this running at 100 RPM. From the demo that I watched, this would take very little. I probably put more on here than I really needed to. I'm just going to spread this yellow on here, on the top half. wondering if I can just wipe some of that off, but I'm sure it's going to penetrate the wood at least a little bit. Oh yes. Now I'm going to open the blue, and I'm going to do this away from the bowl. I don't want to do that again. Apply it a little bit to the pad. Let's see what happens here. It goes a long way according to the demo that I saw. Just going to bring it up and mix it in with the yellow. And I did remember correctly, it's green. I'm going to try putting a little more yellow right up at the top here. More blue on the bottom, and I'm going to let these dry for a few minutes. I just want to see what happens if I turn this on at 100 RPM and run a paper towel over it. Still some dampness here. Okay, I'm going to add a little more blue and a little more yellow. See through this a little bit more than I want. All right, I'll give it a little more drying time. I'm going to wipe this down with a paper towel again. I'm the impatient kind. I'm not much good at waiting for things to dry. I want to see what it's going to look like here. All right, it's not bad at all. Now I'm going to try a little experiment, which was not recommended. Was not recommended against either, for that matter. I want to put a little bit on with a paper towel instead of that Scotch-Brite type pad. See if it goes on a little smoother. I don't think that yellow's looking too bad. I'll try the same thing with blue. All right, now I will let it dry for a while. I have it reversed into my coal jaws now, and I just want to turn this little knob off, take this out, contour the bottom a little bit so it's concave, put a couple of rings in there for decoration with my skew chisel, and I guess I will put my logo coin in there. So I'll drill that. I'm going to be turning this at 650 RPM. Coal jaws are only rated for about that. I don't want to exceed it too much and take any unnecessary chances. So let's turn this off now. I'll put a little more light on it. Alrighty, now I'm going to just sand this. One of the only things I do not like about coal jaws is that you can't run them real fast, and it's tough to get a real clean cut if you're turning too slowly. I much prefer to turn it at 2000 RPM. So that's not my idea of a great cut, but I guess some 80 grit should take care of that. Alright, signed, dated, the wood species identified, and 1 coat of Minwax wipe-on poly. I'll do a couple more coats of those over the course of the day, and then I'll show you the results. Alright, so you got a small look at how to use this. A lot more detail could have been provided, I'm sure, but then I don't know how to use it that well yet. A couple of things I would do differently. I think next time I try it, I will do it with just using a paper towel or something. This is very coarse, and it just seemed to leave lines. Maybe I just didn't take enough time. I've got to do some more experimenting with that and find out. Another thing, I sanded this to 400 grit. And I had been told in the demo that that might be too far, but I wanted to find out because I like that smooth finish. So the next time I do it, I think I'll only sand it to around 220, maybe even back as far as 180, and see if the color will penetrate it more. If it does, perhaps after I've done the coloring, I can continue sanding and get this down to a finer grit. Just a little bit more to learn. So I hope maybe this gave you an idea, a little bit anyway, on how this product works. You might want to check it out for yourself. I'll leave it at that for today. So thank you for stopping in. I appreciate it very much. I want to thank all the people who've subscribed. You really make this worth doing. So have a great day in your shop. Take care, be safe, and I hope you'll drop in next time again. Don't forget to subscribe. Bye now.